بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. In the chapter of Kitabul Fitan, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam once asked the great Sahabi Hazrat Abdullah bin Amr bin al-As radiyallahu an. His father was Amr ibn al-As, who was the conqueror of Egypt. Abdullah bin Amr was known for writing the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He would reach an age where, close to the end of his life, he would see the great battle, and at that time he would be amongst one of the most superior or the most senior, although at the time of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam he was a young Sahabi. His father accepted Islam close to the conquest of Makkah Mukarramah, and then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used him as a major general in the armies. Amr bin al-As radiyallahu anhu, he was a unique master of warfare. Abdullah bin Amr was young at that time, so when he would reach his age where he was the senior, it would be the time when the battle between Muawiyah radiyallahu an and Ali radiyallahu an was on its height. Many at that time would look at him for mashwara regarding this. Although he was of the party of Muawiyah radiyallahu an, he was more in the people of Sham. But to a great extent, Abdullah bin Amr bin al-As radiyallahu an tried to stay out of this issue. And many a time when people would ask him for guidance, then he would refer back to certain ahadith he had heard from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And most likely on account of these ahadith, it was the reason why at that time he adopted his method of trying to avoid the conflict, staying out of the conflict, although he was the senior at that time. And normally it is when you are a senior, then your one word means lot. And every party is ready to grab your word and to say, see what he said, because you are senior. And the different senior Sahaba radiyallahu anhum at that era, they had different ways that they conducted themselves. But in the light of what was said to him when he was young, this was the path that he took. As we mentioned previously, the advices that were given to Sahaba radiyallahu anhum was such a unique advice that it would refer to any era which would have those same conditions which are going to be described now. And then that advice will also be given, especially to that person who will in that era be regarded amongst the seniors. So because all of you have some relationship with ilm, and although you all are all young today, but a day will come when you all will be the seniors. And your word in your area, in your town, perhaps in the world might be held on to. So at that time, maybe you might say, when I was young, I heard this narration. Now it must be like my tariqah. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to him, Kayfa bika? Kayfa bika means, what will your condition be? How will you deal with this situation? Kayfa bika? إِذَا أُبْقِيتَ فِي حُثَالَةِ النَّاسِ. When you are now left with the rest. Huthala normally means, like after you got your fruit, and the best part of it is eaten, then what's left? Which someone might eat it, the person might say that, that give it to the birds. That's called the huthala. That it got some value, but it's not the best. It's not rotten also, it's not the worst. But it is called that which is normally left one side. And the main people of the food, of the dastarkhan, they don't want to touch it. That's huthala. And huthala will be in every era. In every era there will be one group which will understand that this is like the best. And then they will see around them the rest. That is called huthala. That you will find people around you who got a different understanding, a different temperament. So you are the fruit and they are the rest. Or you might think you're the fruit and they the rest. But whatever it is. Now if you, at that time, he was like the fruit. It was an era of tabi'in and even tabi tabi'in. And he was the senior sahabi at that time. And it's obvious that the even tabi'een and tabi'een will never reach the level of a sahabi. But this was going to carry on till the ending. The best of one era. When he will look around him, he won't find people living up to his standards. And that is why normally when the great ulama become old, they enter into like a state of, you might say like, are you in depression? Because they see around them nothing which they feel was like, what happened? So he said, what will your condition be إِذَا أُبْقِيتَ فِي حُثَالَةِ النَّاسِ? That everything around you is like the rest. There is no best anymore. How will you deal with the situation? وَمَرِجَتْ بِهِ عُهُودُهُمْ وَأَمَانَاتُهُمْ. And when trust, ahad and amanat, when trust will be like corrupted, marijat means fasadat. That wherever you trusting, that person is the biggest deceiver. One explanation is, la yu'raful kha'in min al-amin. That the one that you can say, no, this one I can trust, he's my man. Other people will tell him he's the worst. He's the last to be your man. He's the one causing all the problems. But because like a fruit can never understand anything to be rotten. So when you are like in such a unique level of piety, you can't see someone who's in front of you and he looks so good. And someone says, don't trust him. You say, impossible, this man I know him. I went with him, I traveled with him. He said, وَمَرِجَتْ بِهِ عُهُودُهُمْ وَأَمَانَاتُهُمْ. But sometimes the one right on your side, he is the one you can't trust the most. And how will you know? But that errors came. They say Shaykhul Hind rahimullah, after he was jailed, something like this here, that one of the people that was understood later on to be among the spies of the British was the one who, when he needed his pan, that was that student who would bring him. And he would sit in like in that special majlis, where he would, special students, and he's giving him, making that special khidmat. So when the one who you trust the most, he's the one you can't trust at all. Marijat bihi uhuduhum wa amanatuhum. But you are like the best. And the people around you might not be yours always. There will be those that are yours, there will be those that are not. But this word, la yu'raful kha'in min al-amin, that you won't even be able to recognize who you can trust, who you can't trust. So if you want to tell him one word, he might use that word for his own purpose. He might have nothing to do with sincerity and with you. He just wants to pull what he needs out of you, get his work done. So how will you handle yourself at that time when you can't trust anyone else? Marijat bihi uhuduhum wa amanatuhum wakhtalafu. And the people around you got so much of ikhtilaf. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam then put his hands together, which many a time he did. Shabbaka asabi'ahu. He put his fingers one into the other to show that everyone is into each other. Everyone. Going for the hearts of each other. وَاخْتَلَفُوا. Meaning amongst the Muslims, there's so much of conflict. And now your one word can just make it even worse. Because you are like the hujjat at that time. You want to sort everything out, but any word you use is being used against you instead of for you. So he said, كَيْفَ بِكَ? How will you deal at that time? So he asked, بِمَ تَأْمُرُنِي? What will you order me if I have to find that error? Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam then gave certain guidelines which came in different ahadith. One famous narration is the one we hear. أَمْلِكْ عَلَيْكَ لِسَانَكَ وَلْيَسَعْكَ بَيْتُكَ وَبْكِي عَلَى خَطِيئَتِكَ. So in this narration on different wording, but the one part of the narration it starts, أَمْلِكْ عَلَيْكَ لِسَانَكَ. That the first thing is watch your tongue. The reason is because the people around you, you yourself know you don't know who to trust. So you will have to say certain things or word yourself in such a manner that even if the man next to you is so close to you, he will be unable to use it for his own material purpose. You'll have to watch your words. Amlik. And obviously it's impossible to watch every word. But hifazat means that you take guard. After taking guard, if you are living like in a country of South Africa, they still manage to steal. You can put what you want around. That very security man who installed it, he is the one who's breaking in. So you can't trust, but at least you did your job. Don't be so loose. Amlik alayka lisanak. And the narration also has that second wording, that let your house be your place. Meaning you constrict yourself to your area. Now it can have a lot of meanings. One is stay in your house, don't go out. Or the other is what's your place. Make that your markas. Because every place is not yours. Which you will understand it in this, that if you want to say the truth, you must make sure you're in such a place that's your house, not somebody else's house. You don't go in somebody else's area and speak the truth. Because there every sentence of yours will be cut. But in your area you can speak the truth, and even harder than the truth. Because in your area everyone loves you. A sheikh in a khanqa can say certain things which his murids will grab onto without asking for a single proof. And let him go out of that khanqa into the nearby masjid also. And he tries to say something, and the man will say, but where you got this from? So what's your own house, let that be yours. But if you want to move out, then remember you are going into the jungles. There you must be ready to be bitten from every side. So let your house be your markas. How we can apply it in today's era, in every era it will be different. We enter a time where what is called every bayan is no longer your bayan now. It's a bayan for the world. Everything is a bayan for the world. One good thing, however, like one person said, hardly anyone reads kitabs. Hardly anyone. So he said, so the least ikhtilaf comes from kitabs. Because people don't read it. Then they said, more listen to bayan, but hardly anyone listens to a half an hour bayan. So more than the kitab, more ikhtilaf comes from the bayan. But still, hardly anyone listens to half an hour bayan. Clips. Everyone listens to clips. That 2-minute clip, that the whole world will see, that 20,000 viewers or listeners. From the 20,000, but 10,000 could be yours and 10,000 could not be yours. Because for 2 minutes, it's not hard for your enemy to say, let me see what that rubbish is saying now. And another ikhtilaf starts. So although many people enjoy clips and they say so much of benefit, we have not seen much benefit in clips. For many reasons. One is it's always taken out of context. In a bayan, if you're saying something, it's only understood that 2 minutes if you understand everything around it, and you understand who it was said to, where it was said, when it was said. But in 2 minutes, nothing can be understood. Nothing can be understood. To such an extent that years later, when the man himself hears that 2 minutes, he said, I don't know who said this. You said it. Because it's 2 minutes. So he says, watch. Amlik alayka lisanak, your tongue you'll have to look after. And you rather stay in your house. Stay in your house, one is can means you don't go out. But the easier meaning is what's yours, let that be your bait. In your house you do what you want. You open your markas. You teach how you want. But if you go out, you must be ready. If you want to carry it with you, you'll have to carry it solid. There everything will be questioned. Objection will be laid on every statement. What you want to say, make sure you have a proof behind it. You cannot be so that when I was once upon a time, no one asked me for a proof. Because now you're going out into the jungle. When you were in your house, the mouse would never think of attacking you. You the boss. Out of your house, you no longer the boss. The lion is in charge. So let your house be your markas. Instead of going everywhere for the world and then getting it from all sides. Then came that remaining words. He said, خُذْ مَا تَعْرِفْ وَدَعْ مَا تُنْكِرْ. خُذْ مَا تَعْرِفْ وَدَعْ مَا تُنْكِرْ. There will be certain things in every era which you recognize, which you take to, which you understand that this is the truth. So grab onto it. خُذْ. أَخَذَ يَأْخُذُ means grab onto it. Meaning make that day yours. Even if everyone around you says you're wrong. If you feel that this is the right thing, hold on to it. And what you don't recognize, wada', then leave it. But if you're going to go for the war, and if you're going to attack it, now what you don't recognize might be recognized by many people around you. And you are going to finish yourself in a war that never is ending. You hold on to what you recognize, and what you don't recognize, you say no. وَدَعْ مَا تُنْكِرْ. This year is not for me. And those that want to listen to you and ask you, then you don't tell them what you all must do. You say that I prefer not to do this. This is not for me. And those that are around will say, then I'll follow you. Then say, Mubarak to you. وَدَعْ مَا تُنْكِرْ. This was not giving a command that don't make amr bil ma'roof, nahi anil munkar. That command was given already, that the ummah must never leave amr bil ma'roof. This was regarding those things in which, as the narration mentioned, وَاخْتَلَفُوا. There will be so much of differences. And on each side there will be a party who will have their reasons also for saying what they're going to say. So when there's so much of confusion, don't add to the confusion also. What you recognize to be right, grab onto it. And what you don't recognize, wada', and say, this is not for me. No one can force you to do what you don't want to. And you shouldn't force other people to do what they don't want to. No one should force you to do what you do not want to. And you should not force other people to do what they do not want to. These are in those issues in which that ummah will differ. وَدَعْ مَا تُنْكِرْ. What you don't recognize, then leave it. So there's so much other works. He said it, he said it. They say, what you said? I said that. He said this and he said that. So what you're happy with, grab. What you're not happy with, leave. Because in the end, if I'm going to be, remember who is speaking again? We are speaking about kayfa bika. What will be your condition when you will be the next senior? So if you're going to be another voice, then there's going to be 3 views, and there'll be 4 views, and 5 views, and 6 views. And the views will never end. If there could be the one person who would say, خُذْ مَا تَعْرِفْ وَدَعْ مَا تُنْكِرْ. What you recognize to be right now, this is mine. And what I don't recognize, then leave it. وَدَعْ مَا تُنْكِرْ. None can force me on what I don't like. And I should not force anyone on what they don't like. وَدَعْ مَا تُنْكِرْ. عَلَيْكَ بِخَاصَّةِ نَفْسِكَ. And then worry about yourself a lot. عَلَيْكَ بِخَاصَّةِ نَفْسِكَ. Worry about yourself a lot. Normally people translate this here, عَلَيْكَ بِنَفْسِكَ. Say, I'm fed up with the world. Now I'm just worrying of myself. It never meant that. عَلَيْكَ بِخَاصَّةِ نَفْسِكَ means, when you will find such an error, which is known as an error of fitan, understand that you also a target. Understand that you also a target, although you the senior of the error. You are target from all sides, especially from the main shayateen. The reason is because when the leader slips, then many slip with him. Never meant alayka bi nafsik. It means just say, I'm fed up with you all now, I'm just worrying of myself. It meant worry of yourself. Worry of yourself means that when you're seeing so much of turmoil, understand that you are the biggest target. Alayka bi khasati nafsi. Your every step you have to think 5 times. Should I say, shouldn't I say? Should I move this way, shouldn't I move? If you were making Lord istikhara to marry that girl, now make istikhara on your every step. Do I do this? Don't I do this? Make mashwara on your every step. What do you feel? You think I should do this? No, I shouldn't. What you got to say? What you got to say? Alayka bi khassati nafsik, because you are the senior of the era. Your word will be latched onto, or it will be used for other purposes. Your words might be reinterpreted. It might be used against you. It might be used for meanings that you never intended. Your name might be used for wrong purposes. عَلَيْكَ بِخَاصَّةِ نَفْسِكَ. And besides that, there, because you are the senior, the shayateen's eyes are going to be on you from all directions. If they can grab you at that time in any way, that might be the time where so much ikhtilaf is taking place and you are a great senior at that time, great senior. And somehow the shayateen managed to grab, and that great senior falls into porn. And he doesn't think really anything, because like, who's going to know? This is the ikhtilaf outside the computer. But he's a great senior. And as he's watching that porn, he doesn't realize that someone perhaps behind the porn is also grabbing evidence against the great senior. So that when the time is right, it just has to be leaked. And that man who everyone was holding on to yesterday and saying, what a man, what a man, what a man. And suddenly it comes out. And everyone is saying, oh, that was your man. And who was the senior of the truth at that moment, because he slipped. Even what he called for, what was the truth, immediately that also falls to the ground. And the others will say, now that's the haqq you're speaking about. That's the haqq. And becomes a laughing matter. عَلَيْكَ بِخَاصَّةِ نَفْسِكَ. You will have to watch yourself so well, what you are looking at, who you are talking to, what jokes you are making, with who you are making. Are you making a slight joke with someone? It could be just a friendly sentence to one girl. It might be just one friendly smile to your one student. عَلَيْكَ بِخَاصَّةِ نَفْسِكَ. You'll have to watch your every step. Because the devil will be all around. If you are the senior, if somehow he can make that senior do one thing that leaves even his own followers shocked, then how it puts him in the light of those who never liked him. عَلَيْكَ بِخَاصَّةِ نَفْسِكَ. And as for the awam, which is called umur al-amma, the matter of the word general. One narration's word is وَإِيَّاكَ وَعَوَامِهِمْ. Another narration is وَدَعْ أَمْرَ الْعَوَامِ. Iyaka means, and watch out for the awam. Watch out for the general people. Watch out. This one is وَدَعْ أَمْرَ الْعَوَامِ. That the matter of the general people, leave it. But that وَإِيَّاكَ means watch out. Give a nice explanation in one place. They say that do not say such words in front of them that results in them jumping on top of you. Do not say such words in front of them that results in them jumping on top of you. Again, Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi anil Munkar could never have been stopped. Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi anil Munkar will have to stay till the ending. So what will it mean, watch out for the awam? It means in such times, when you are going to speak with them, when you will be told, give a bayan, when you will be asked a question, then you will have to word yourself in such a manner that they would say normally that the snake dies also, but the stick doesn't break. That you are able to kill the snake, but you never break the stick. Or you are able to say the truth, and the speaker still lives to say the truth the next day also. That you don't just lose yourself, that you make them so fed up on this one small issue, that after that so much of the truth you still got to say, but now they don't want to listen at all. Which one alim explained nicely, hikmah. He said, what is this hikmah? رَجُلٌ آتَاهُ اللَّهُ حِكْمَةً فَهُوَ يَقْضِي بِهَا وَيُعَلِّمُهَا. Very nicely he explained. He said the word hikmah comes from the word hakama. And then hakama, he explained two things. One is anything which you use to steer something else. So the example that he gave is what they put in the nose, in the nostril of the horse. Now that horse or that animal is so strong and so much of benefit. But if you know how to steer it, if someone has taught you how to ride a horse, how to hold the reins, where your hands must be when holding the reins. So the one ear in front of that ear, this hand, in front of the other ear, that hand. And how you must hold it. And then when the time comes to turn, now how you must turn. Do you make a sudden turn like this? That animal only needs a small touch and it already gets the message. So hikmah is to be able to use the ring and make the turn in such a manner that the animal is happy to turn. That's called hikmah. How can you make that move in such a manner that your hands also don't pain and the animal happily turns? And it is done in such a manner, such a loving manner, that the animal later on realizes that my boss is so good, my rider, that instead of even using his hands, he uses his legs now. And the legs are more easier, because the legs is on the hard body part of the animal. So he just presses little bit, or he leans little to the right, and the animal understands, let's turn now before he even plays with my hakama. Because no one likes someone tickling your nose. So the animal turns immediately, say, before my rider moves, let me move. That hikmah where you get what you want and everyone is happy. And you hardly have to do anything. Hikmah, from the word hakama. وَإِيَّاكَ, watch out for the awam. That if you will say something which is beyond their understanding, and you're not in your house, you're in their house. You enter into their jungle, and you go up to the lion and you say to the lion, who is the king of the jungle? That wasn't the right question to be asked. He said, the lion once saw the elephant. So as he walked in front of the elephant, he said, who is the king of the jungle? So the elephant grabbed him with its trunk, and then up, down, banged him, banged him, banged him, banged him. And then as the elephant was going, the lion just looked at him and said, okay, don't get angry if you don't know the answer. Don't get angry if you don't know the answer. In the wrong place he made his statement. You don't tell even if you are the king, you don't tell the elephant, I am the king. You just remain the king. Be the king, but don't go and tell the elephant, you know who I am. Because the elephant don't know who you are. Similarly, the awam, some of them are like elephants. They don't know who you are. So you can't go in front of everyone and you say, you know me, I got Dora first position. He doesn't know Dora what it means. He says, you know, this is the Shaykhul Hadith. He doesn't know the word Shaykhul Hadith. He doesn't know the word Bukhari. He's an elephant. You can call him a stupid elephant. You can call him a big fat elephant. You can call him whatever. But in the end of the day, when he stomps you, he'll really stomp you. Then you can say, don't get angry, you don't know the answer. But you're not going to stand up after that to give another question. Don't ever enter into the arena of the wrong person and say the wrong word. وَإِيَّاكَ وَعَوَامِهِمْ وَدَعْ أَمْرَ الْعَوَامِ. It was unique advices that in the time where you are the senior, you'll have to look after your tongue. Your every word you have to watch it. Your area must be your house. You must try never ever to go into not your house and speak your talk. It will spoil it for you, it will spoil it for them also. Let your house, وَلْيَسَعْكَ بَيْتُكَ, be your markaz. And from your markaz you'll do lot. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how much he wanted to do in Makkah Mukarramah, how much. But because Makkah Mukarramah was not at that time ready for what he was going to call to. Even the big things, what Medina Munawwara he was going to call to, small things also. Small issues. He would say, do it like this, do it like that. In Makkah Mukarramah he left all the small issues. He was only calling to one major issue, La ilaha illallah. But the environment was not at all accepting. It was a command, you will go to Medina Munawwara. There you want to give the adhan loudly, everyone will run for the adhan. Here you want to just read salah one time openly, everyone will run against you. There you want to teach the people mustahab and adab, you will be able to shout them. You will be able to punish them. Here you try anything, you will be punished. An environment is always. Let your house be your markaz. وَلْيَسَعْكَ بَيْتُكَ. What you recognize as right, hold on to it. What you feel is not right, then leave that. Don't carry on running behind it. At the moment now of ikhtilaf, there's one issue about investigation. And in everything there's an investigation. Each party will carry on. Google is making more money than anyone else. Both parties are investigating in Google. One is investigating, is it real? The other one is investigating, is it a lie? Google itself is the biggest lie. Google itself. وَدَعْ مَا تُنْكِرُ. What you don't like now, just leave it now. Just leave it. You have held on to what you recognize to be the truth. And what you don't recognize, وَدَعْ, just leave it, let it go. And then after that, عَلَيْكَ بِخَاصَّةِ نَفْسِكَ. Understand you also a target. Worry of yourself. Look at yourself from all sides. Am I also not making an error? Am I also not slipping? Am I also not falling? Am I also saying things which I shouldn't be saying? Am I also getting pride? وَإِيَّاكَ وَعَوَامٍ. And as for the awam, watch out. Be very scared of the awam, because at times of ikhtilaf, they could have loved you yesterday, but they'll be your biggest enemy tomorrow. They can be the same one who yesterday made your khidmat, tomorrow they can stab you. Watch out for the awam. They are like that elephant in the jungle, you can be like the lion. But that strength that they got when they don't know how to use it, when they're angry in their moods. An elephant, you'll see when it charges, when it goes charging, they call it al-filul ha'ij, the mad elephant, pagal, mad. At that time, it doesn't meet anything except that it runs over it. That's not the time you put yourself in front and say, stop. That elephant can't stop. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala bless us all with hikmah. That with that hikmah which Allah gives, we are also able to steer ourselves for huwa yaqdi biha. We are able to teach hikmah to the world, wa yu'allimuha. We are able to steer the entire ummah in directions which is towards which Allah Tabarak Ta'ala wants. We are able to move ourselves without much effort, without hurting the animal, without hurting ourselves, without making them upset, without tiring ourselves. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala be happy with all of us, protect us all from all fitan. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala make the coming days and the future easy for all of us. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.